think we had the mics on. Hi, Jim. Can you hear me?
I can, Vince.
Okay. I think we had some problems with the controls there. This is our first time using the phones. Anyway, you're listening to KTAL LP FM in Las Cruces, New Mexico, 101.5. Also streamed live on lccommunityradio.org or radio KTAL, QUETAL.org. I'm your host, Vince Gucic, and this is a segment every Tuesday, noon to 1, Science. Let's take a look. My guest today is Professor Jim Pushnik at Cal State Chico, and we've been going on how he started a sustainability program there that is very extensive. So, Jim, where did we leave off?
Well, I was just speaking on how once I realized talking to public groups that the university itself plays a fundamental and pivotal role in creating and the development of future generations, and that means that we educate the leaders, the policymakers, we make citizens engaged in the process, and so I was talking about the idea that we redesigned our general education program because it to provide the breadth and the depth of modern university education, you do need the disciplinary perspective for the field you're going to go into. But the general education can be the breadth of that process. And so we looked at creating a series of courses that addressed the principles and concepts of sustainability. And we did so through a faculty learning community. And this is actually kind of humorous in that I didn't really know how to go about getting these people together other than the ones that came to speak in my class. I simply put a notice in the university announcements, our daily announcements, and it read something like this: no agenda, no PowerPoint, just come and meet other individuals interested in environmental and sustainable issues, and I will provide pizza. And I honestly realized right then and there the faculty are nothing more than grown-up graduate students. I expected to have about 5 people show up. I had 89 faculty members show up for that evening, and we really had this very interesting dialogue about what it is to create a curriculum. So we formed a faculty learning community, and we started to work around what if we could design this program, what were the key things that we wanted our students to have at the end of their general education. And we looked at some learning competencies that were from Wick and Wykeham and Redmond, and they are system thinking, anticipatory thinking, normal thinking, strategic thinking, and collaborative thinking. And the idea here was that all these things, system thinking is critical, and we try to look at the interactions and feedbacks between the social, economic, and environmental domains that we were talking about. We wanted anticipatory thinking in that it's the capacity to see the future and imagine solutions to problems in achieving them in a sustainable way. We wanted some normative thought there in that that's central to the concepts of resilience and sustainability. It's the ability to really, I guess, reconcile the development practices of social equity, justice, and cultural ethics. We wanted to have the strategic thinking be part of it, and that's to develop and implement innovations, the sort of the innovative juice of this process. And then collaboratively, we realized, and this comes from my talks with the public, was that it's intercommunication that really advances the thought, and that is critical in the development of community practices. So from those 5 competencies, we then went through and came up with a set of common learning outcomes. And we came up with 12 of them. This was an exercise in wordship. I had faculty from, again, a fairly simple technique. I gave everybody sticky notes and asked them if you could, one thing that you thought every student should know. And this was from faculty from every division on campus. I mean, there were probably 30 of us. And we took those and we tried to compile them into this list of student learning outcomes. And they were fairly broad things. It's things like explore what sustainability is and what it can be in social and economic systems, recognize the physical and biological attributes, the basic functioning and limitations of our planetary ecosystems. What are the controversies and how can you explain the questions of value ethics and how they relate to our future, how our relationships with the natural world have been shaped historically, politically, and culturally. And it was just a way of getting every discipline to focus on what they thought sustainability was. And in doing that, we then set this list out and we created a list of 24 courses that if to be part of this pathway, you had to agree to faculty would put substantive effort on at least 3 of those learning outcomes during the course. And in doing that, we put this really wonderful general education program together that really it created a virtual faculty is what it did. We meet as a separate group and we talk about what one class is doing and how it relates to another class. And it worked for the students because, faculty in this pathway say, oh, well, you guys are probably taking a test in Professor X's class, so we won't have one this day. And so they knew that we were all connected and talking. And it spiraled as they go from freshmen up through their higher levels of general education, which is usually junior seniors taking these last classes. They have seen these same principles over and over and have been presented in a non-prescriptive way with the different disciplinary views. Our goal was to allow them to create their own vision for it, but be informed from the different perspectives. I can tell you it has been very successful. We have been tracking their increase in knowledge, how that increase in knowledge reflects in the behavioral shifts that they have. I've been surveying these students for about 5 years now. And beyond, we've gone out and done alumni surveys. And the results all come back that these were very powerful, meaningful learning experiences for them. And it does not, it was adjunct to their disciplinary degree. So it was value added. So that has been a really powerful thing on campus. Also as a function of our efforts to communicate with the public, we have done a couple of other things. I have what I will call initiatives working through the Institute. One is referred to as the Resilient Cities Initiative, and that is a program that has brought classes to focus on a local issue. And that one is with our host city, the city of Chico. We have adjacent around you don't know the city of Chico, but our university is smack dab in the middle of the urban area. We're a small 100,000 size community. The university is in the middle. We're about 16,000 students. Surrounding the university, as in most cases, there are areas where students take up residence. And one of those is what we call the South Campus neighborhood. It's 42 square blocks around us, largely composed of student housing. And as everybody knows, those tend to sometimes be not the most modern parts of our community. So we have students from 4 colleges, 7 departments, and 12 classes, all focused on this South Campus neighborhood, looking at different aspects of it, looking at the safety for pedestrians and cyclists, looking at the street lighting, looking at crime statistics, looking at housing quality, looking at infrastructure, the urban forest. And so all those students are from different perspectives, different geography, biology, engineering, and they now come together as a collective and are presenting to the city council here in the next few weeks their results and their recommendations for an urban development project in that area. So the important part here was that they became engaged in a process that was real world and authentic outside of the classrooms. They took, I'll take the GIS students, they were able to work with the city police, and we have incidences of accidents, we have incidences of crime, we have various vandalism, theft, that kind of stuff. And they were able to create these heat maps where we could see where those issues were taking place in that neighborhood. We could overlay that with the lighting, the transportation pathways. We had students that we had, they're called eco counters. We mapped the flow of students in and out with infrared beams so we could determine whether they're cyclists or a car or a pedestrian.
So Jim, where did you set these up?
We actually, I rented them. I rented one, and we moved around this every other day. We'd move these things out around the university on public streets.
Wow!
So it was, the students loved it, right?
I bet.
And so it was, we have the pressure strips across the street where the cars go by. You knew that. The infrared beams were just focused on either the sidewalk or the bike lane. And so we mapped that. So we know the times and flows of students coming and going to the university. So we took all that data, and in the second phase of it, we began to look at a concept of complete streets, and this was done by engineers and by social scientists and some of the health sciences. We began to say, okay, these streets are so wide, could we move the cars away from the curb and have them leave a space for the bicyclists between the sidewalk and the cars? And that way it did two things. It slowed the traffic, which really was one of the major issues coming to the university, people trying to get there. We're a commuter institution.
Sure.
And it also reduced some of the congestion, to be honest.
Really?
And so it was a very good thing. I now have some transportation classes in civil engineering are now doing the CAD drawings for the complete streets. They're on the recommendation of the students. The city council is now considering changing some of these streets into one-way corridors, and so that we would have this, we could mitigate a lot of the congestion around the university.
So I'd say that's a lot of leverage of ideas from all kinds of sciences and other disciplines. Let me break off here for a second. We want to do another station break, station ID, and we'll be back in a minute or so.
Okay.
Thank you.